All right. So welcome back. You hear me? You see the source sheet, the whole thing. All right, beautiful. So we weren't here in the past 2 weeks due to Pesach, and it's time to get back into the swing of things. We are in the middle of a manhunt that is about to get very interesting. It got already somewhat interesting, and it's going to get even more now. Shaul is chasing David. 3,000 people. He took his best people, his how they call the Green Beret, and he's chasing him and looking for him. And he's looking for him in all of the places he would assume that he would be, which is off the beaten path. So David is smart, obviously, figured out that he should hide in the least likely place to be found, and that is on the main road. So on the main road there was an area, there was a cave, essentially, a cave system, and he was sitting in that cave system with his people in the inner room and hiding. And then Saul is showing up on that road, and he needs to excuse himself. So he's going into that cave alone to do his thing, and the cave is dark. Nowadays in the caves in Israel you have a lot of light, but now in those days they didn't have it yet. So it's dark, and he's doing his thing, and David, who was there, recognized him, and they are debating with the people what should they do. Should they, that's a golden opportunity to stop the manhunt, to stop the chase. They've been suffering greatly from running around and not being able to settle down, and not sleeping in the same place 2 nights in a row. It was there were it's David and his people, and it's a few hundred people. I don't know if they all fit in that cave or not, but it's likely that some of them did, a whole bunch of them did. But that's a golden opportunity to get rid of the problem. But David does not obviously want to kill Shaul. David is a pious guy, pious man, and he understands that Shaul was elected by God to lead the Am Israel, and it's not his place to kill him. It's not going to be a positive act. But he's debating what should he do, so he decides to give himself a test to see if hurting Saul in any way, shape, or form will make him feel good or bad. And if it will make him feel bad, that's a reason that he shouldn't have done it. If it will make him feel good, that means that maybe that was a positive thing to do. So he cannot test to see if he's going to feel good or bad after he kills Saul. So he does just something much more benign, and that is he gets closer to him and cuts the edge of his talus, of his coat, the edge of his coat, and then retreats, which shows a lot about his character. He was, imagine getting close to the king quietly and doing something like that. This is not. You need guts. But what it's because it was. I called it the talus because it was a dalet arba kanfos. He used in those days. They didn't have necessarily a talus separately from the clothes. They had the coat, and the coat had 4 corners, and they put the talus on the coat. So the tzitzis on the coat, and that became their tzitzis. So he cut a corner of it, which is criticized for because he left him with a pasul dik talis. You know, a tzitzit that doesn't have all four corners. So he's criticized for that. Anyway, he felt right away that it's the wrong thing to do, and he told people, "No, we're not going to kill him." And he let Shaul exit the cave, and that is where we left off before Pesach. So we are in Shmuel Aleph, chapter 24, Kaf Daled, verse 9, Tet, and it's on the screen, so you can all follow up if you don't have the book at home. Some of you, I know you own the book, so anyway. So Vayakam David achrechen vayetze min ha'me'ara. So he doesn't want to kill him, but he doesn't want to lose the opportunity to make a point and to try to stop the manhunt. So as soon as Shaul exit the cave and walks away from the cave a little bit, enough not to be close. So if he decides to chase, he's not going to catch him. Shaul was not walking around with a bow and an arrow. He walked around typically with a sword. So he needs to be very close to hurt David. So he let him walk away far enough so he's not a threat. And then vayetze min ha'me'ara, so he came out of the cave, vayikra achrei Shaul lemor, and he called after Shaul, "Hey, King, King Saul, Shaul." So what did he say? "Adoni HaMelech, my king, my master, my king." So vayabet Shaul acharav. So Shaul looks, turns around and looks at him. Vayikod David apayim atza vayishtachu. So as soon as that Shaul sees David, now they're sort of facing each other. So David bows down right away before saying anything, as the proper protocol is to address a king. You see a king, you have to bow down. So to a complete nullification, he want to right away set the tone as to the relationship here. Vayomer David leShaul, and then he starts talking. Lama tishma et divrei Adam lemor, ine David mevak. And then he opens up with a basically begging and asking, why are you listening to the man's word? And who is the man? Who is Adam? Adam is Doeg Edomi. He's Saul's advisor, who had a lot of jealousy against David because he felt that he is the one that should be marrying the daughter. He's the one that should be taking over. He's the one that fit to be a king. Doeg Edomi was at the time the head of the Sanhedrin, very smart, very important person, and he felt that David is better than him. So he made sure to drip his venom in Saul's ears all the time. There was another individual who would do that, and that is Avner. Avner ben Ner was the chief commanding officer of the head of the army for Saul. He was Saul's uncle, and he also, obviously, he felt that Saul is the one that needs to lead, and David is not should not be doing that. So later on, by the way, as David presented, basically just what will happen. In short, he will present to Saul and say, "Here, I had an opportunity to kill you. I didn't kill you. And how do you know that I had an opportunity to kill you? Here is the corner of your coat. I could have, if I got that close, I could have taken your life easily." So Avner later on would say to Saul, "Listen, he wasn't really close. You went into a dark place, and there were thorns over there, and the corner of your coat got caught over there, and he found it, and he took advantage of it. but he wasn't really, a threat to you. Don't kid yourself. And the people who talk him into it, initially it started with Saul being the one that's pushing to get rid of David more and more on his own, because he was afraid that David is the one who's going to unseat him. Later on, as we stand right now, his people, even though he's getting slowly to the realization that he should not be chasing David, his people are egging him on, so to speak, and sending him again and again and again to continue. So David at this point is telling Shaul they're standing far apart, but in a way that they can actually talk to each other. He said, why are you listening to Doeg? The Doeg tells him, David mevakesh racha. The David is looking to hurt you, looking to harm you. Hine hayom hazeh. Here, I have a proof to you. Look at today. Ra'u enecha, you saw with your own eyes, asher netancha Hashem hayom biyadi b'me'ara, that God gave you in my hands the cave. V'amar leorgecha, and he said to kill you, v'tachos alecha, and I'm not speaking proper English because I don't know, and B, because that's the literal translation, and we'll talk about the fact that it's not proper Hebrew here either, because God gave it to me and He said to kill you, v'tachos alecha, and she, it's a female, feminine form of the word, v'tachos alecha. Va'omar lo ishlach yadi, and I said to myself, I'm not going to send my hand to harm you, ba'adoni ki Mashiach Hashemu, because you're the one that God anointed. So what is he saying here? He's saying here something very interesting, and that is the Malbim is mentioning that there are. Sometimes someone would like to hurt someone else. They would like to kill someone else, right? But they have 3 reasons why they shouldn't. Reason number 1, that they can't. I would like to kill, the head of Iran. Very good. I like to. I can't right now. Another reason is if I do that, maybe God is going to dislike it, or it's I have to face consequences in the eyes of God. And a third reason is maybe I'll face consequences from men, from the people around. And he's in his sentence. David is trying to convey to Saul that all 3 of those are not applicable. Number 1, he said, God gave him. I was able to do it because God gave you. 1 second, let me just. Sorry. Right. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I just muted so. You can unmute yourself if you want. So God gave you in my hands, so I was able to do it. So in terms of opportunity, I had an opportunity because I was with you in the cave. And then ve'amar leorgecha, there is no fear. I have no fear that God does not like that, because He said that I can kill you. What does it mean? He said. So he said in the Torah. What do you mean? He said in the Torah. There is a halacha that if someone is chasing another person, and it's very clear that whoever is chasing is about to kill the other person, he's chasing him with a sword, with a gun. And you see that if they meet each other or have an opportunity or get closer, he's going to kill that person. So it's called rodef, and the halacha is that whoever sees it can stop the one who's chasing by killing the chaser, because there is no in Jewish law, a person can be killed by not by just someone who would like to do that, but by the courts if it's warranted. So from the din rodef, from the halacha of rodef, I could have killed you. And vatachos alecha, and that is talking about his hand. That his hand. That's why he's talking in a female, in a feminine form of the word. Vatachos alecha va'omar lo eshlach yadi ba'adoni ki Mashiach Hashemu. And I told myself, I'm not going to send that hand, because that hand had the support of the people around. As we saw before, when we learned earlier, that his people were asking him, please, this is an opportunity for us to be free from fear and be able to go back to society. But he said no. Ve'avi, re'eh gam re'eh. So now he's calling him father. So before he called him a king, now after he's showing him that he had an opportunity to kill him and not, he's not showing him only nullification, he's showing him also love, father. And the rabbis are saying that we will see later in the next verse that Saul returned that love to him by calling him my son, and it's not the next verse. It's in a while. It's in a few verses. He will call him my son, and the point is that a father-in-law can be called a father. That's how the rabbis are learning, that a father-in-law can be called a father. So now he's telling him, "Va'avi re'eh gam re'eh." See. Also see, how do they translate it? Take a closer look. Yeah. So he wants to. There are two forms of look. Please see, please look. What he's trying to say is, not only you should look closer, you should have your people look at the situation. Have your advisors, the smart people, analyze the situation and see that it's so. I was able to kill you and I didn't. So therefore they should stop with their, bad advice to you. Look at the corner of the coat in my hand. כי בחורתי את כנף מעילך ולא הרגתיך, because I tore off the כנף מעילך, the corner of your coat, and I didn't kill you. Da'ureh, you should know, you should recognize, and you should see. Meaning really internalize the fact that it was a close call for you, and you were saved, Ki en bi'adi ra'ah, that I have, it's not that you went in and I missed you and I just saw the corner of the coat, and I don't have any ill feelings in my heart, in my hand. He said here, upesha. What do you mean? And I'm not a criminal, because there is the halacha that avera goreret avera, that when someone is doing something wrong, it's the avera goreret avera. One sin brings with it other sins. If someone doing one thing wrong, and they're gonna try to do other things wrong, and they sort of can't stop it. So if he was, he's basically answering a question. Maybe now I have good in my, I don't feel, don't have ill feelings against you, but maybe in the past I did. Maybe just last week when I ran away, I really felt that I should do it. So he said no, because otherwise it will be avera goreret avera, because it's obviously a sin to try to kill someone, especially to kill the king of the land. And I didn't want then, and I don't want now, and there is no reason for me to fall into this trap. ולא חטאתי לך, and I didn't sin against you, I didn't have no infractions against you, ואתה צודה את נפשי לקחתה, and you are manhunting me, you are hunting me to kill me, to take my life. And now, and this is a very, very interesting verse, ישפוט השם ביני ובינך, God is going to be our judge between us. ונקמני השם ממך, וידי לא תהיה בך. And you should know that God is going to judge between us, and He is going to take vengeance against you, for me against you. Now this is a very, very, very strong word, but also very, very dangerous statement. ישפוט השם ביני ובינך. I wanted to take a little bit of a deep dive here on that sentence. So let's look. Do I have it here? Let's look at what it means. So we're going to go back. There is another place in Tanakh that this sentence that God is going to be a judge between us is appearing. The first time is appearing in Genesis, in Bereshit 16:5, and it says, "Vatomer Sarai el Avraham chamasi alecha." The story there is that Sarah, the wife of Abraham, did not have children, so she decided to give her mate Hagar to Abraham, and Abraham took her, and she promptly became pregnant with Ishmael, and Sarah did not like it. So Sarah says, "I'm very upset with you. I gave you my mate to be with you. And she right away became pregnant, and now she doesn't have any respect towards me. Yishpot Hashem b'ni u'v'necha, the Lord is going to decide between you and me." She was very upset, Sarah. So it's understandable, but let's see what the rabbis are telling us about this kind of language. So in Baba Kama, in Tractate Baba Kama, in page 93, Amar Rav Chanan. So talking about the whole incident of Avraham and Avimelech. What's the story with Avimelech? The story with Avimelech is that they went. Avraham went down to Egypt because it was famine in Israel, and Avimelech took Sarah and then returned her back to Avraham after he was suffering all kinds of consequences. But anyway, Rav Chanan says, "Amoser al chavero une'enash tchila." Someone who passed judgment of someone else, of his friend, towards heaven, meaning telling them, let's God be the judge between us, right? So the person who is saying it, he's going to be punished first. This is a very, very strong word. And he's bringing the proof from our situation where Sarah told Abraham that I'm upset with you, and God will judge between us. And then she ended up dying before Abraham. She was supposed to die after Abraham, but she died before Abraham because she asked God to judge between us. What the rabbis are telling us, and this I didn't bring it here, but the rabbis are telling us in halakha is very similar. When you go to God and said, "Listen, you be the judge between me and Mr. X, he's didn't do right in my eyes." So then when you go to the IRS and you start saying, "Okay, let's audit, let's see if you're okay," you want me to judge? No problem. Bring your books too. And everybody knows that when the IRS opens up the book, any book, they'll find something It's so you can't come to God and says, I'm perfect. You be the judge. This guy, I lent him $100 and he didn't give it to me back, and I don't have papers. I don't have a contract. You'll be the judge, and if you'll be the judge, maybe it's coming to you, And but the rabbis are saying that this kind of a talk is prohibited. Only the qualifying it. When can't you? When you're not allowed to say to God, when you have a disagreement, a dispute with someone, that God is going to be the judge between us. This is only working if there is recourse, by going to a court of human beings. You have a contract, and someone did not hold their part of the deal, so you can go to court. You can take them to court, and the court will judge. So if you have the ability to go to court, and the court will judge, you cannot tell God you'll judge, because in the court there is a rule that en ladayan ela ma she'navro. The judge can only render their verdict based on what they see. Okay, so a human being of a judge, two people came and says, you owe me $100. No, I don't owe you $100. Okay, so let's check. Let's see. You have a contract. You have witnesses. So the judge can see what they can see, and they render a verdict. God sees a lot more. God sees into people's heart and into in the past and into the future. God can see everything. So if he is the judge, he's going to use his vision, his ability to see far and wide, and we'll see, maybe it's coming to you. So as long as you have the ability to go to a human court, to a court here in this world, you're not allowed to hire God as the judge between you and your opponent. And here, in the case of Sarah, where was she able to go? Which court can judge between her and Avraham? So Tosfot is saying, De'ika daina be'ara, ubimei Saraya beidin shel Shem kayam. Shem and Ever, right? Shem, the son of Adam Arishon, right? He was at the time one of the leaders of the world. Was a small population then, and he was the leader of the world, and he was running the court system. And at the time later on, when Yaakov was running away from Esav, he made a stop in that court, in that yeshiva, to study for a few years. So what happened is that court was around in this time, and Sarah, if she had a dispute with her husband, was able to go to that court. So she was not allowed to ask God, you judge between you and I. Now here we see, let's go back to our story, to David. David HaMelech is saying to Shaul, God will be the judge between us. So the question is, how can you take such a risk? So the answer is based on that Gemara, that because the court of the land was ran by Shaul, right? Saul was in charge of the courts. He was in charge of the kingdom. There was no court that he could have taken him. There was no international court in The Hague, right? He couldn't have sued him in another jurisdiction. So there was no court on earth that was able to be the judge. So the only other available judge was God. So this is why David took the liberty to say, God is going to be the judge between you and I.
And Doeg's position was probably also, or is that not?
No, Doeg was not. Doeg was the head of the Sanhedrin, but the Sanhedrin it's under the king.
Right.
It says the Rambam is saying that when you choose judges, you're not allowed to have the king being judged by the Sanhedrin. When there is a Sanhedrin, the king cannot be judged by them, because if he doesn't like it, he'll just hang them all. And we should not get to a situation where the king is being tested. Mm-hmm. So the king is above the Sanhedrin, at least practically. And then there is another very interesting statement. כאשר יאמר המשל הקדמוני מרשעים יצא רשע וידי לא תהיה בך. He says, I'm not going to kill you. I'm not going to do anything. But God is going to judge between us. And you should know that I'm not an evil person. And evil can come only from evil people. So therefore, I'm not going to touch you, because I'm not going to use my hand to kill you. That's going to come from an evil person. So let's take this apart a little bit. כאשר יאמר משל הקדמוני, what does it mean, משל הקדמוני? It's a very, very strange way of it's being translated as ancient proverb. It's not necessarily a proverb, it's more of an analogy. It's an ancient analogy. So what is כאשר יאמר משל הקדמוני, the ancient analogy? So Rashi, as we see here on the bottom, כאשר יאמר משל הקדמוני, what is משל הקדמוני? Like משל קדמונו של עולם, התורה שהיא משלו של הקדוש ברוך הוא. He's basically saying that basically משל הקדמוני is another name for the Torah. The Torah is the proverb of the world. It's the ancient one, the ancient proverb. It's the ancient analogy of that God is using. And that is, let's look in the Torah and see what evil can come from. Where can evil come from? So Rashi continues. What does it mean? What does it mean that where can evil come from? It says, "HaKadosh Baruch Hu mezamen larasha shenofel biyad rasha v'chayotze bo." Let's pause for a second and take. Rashi is bringing all of those other references, and we're going to go into those references because it's interesting. So Rashi brings, "V'asher lo tzadav ha'elokim ina biyado v'samti lecha makom asher yenu shama." In Exodus, in Shmot 21, there is a section in the Torah that's talking about the halachot of a murderer. So what happens when someone killed someone else unintentionally? So it says that God is going to set up a place where that person can run to. Now, in the tractate of Makot, they explain a little more and say, and connecting it to what we're saying in Shmuel. They're saying as follows, and I'll just summarize it because we're sort of running late. When two people kill someone, one is killing someone intentionally, and one is killing someone unintentionally. Now, what is and both acts, there are no witnesses to either act. So what does God do? God arrange so both of them can escape unharmed, unpunished, because nobody saw it. God arranges for both of those gentlemen or individuals to be in the same area, in the same lodging, in the same hotel. And the one that killed unintentionally is sitting on the ground under a ladder. And the guy who killed intentionally is climbing up the ladder to go up to the roof or to upper floor. And the guy that's climbing the ladder is slipping and falling on top of the other guy and killing him. So the guy that killed, the guy that killed intentionally is sitting under the ladder. The guy that killed intentionally is sitting under the ladder, and he ended up dying. and the guy that's killing unintentionally is the one that's climbing, and he ended up killing the other guy, and because they are in a public place, in a hotel area, they are now witnesses. So now he can be punished, and now he can be punished and be arranged to be forced to fly to flee to a Ir Miklat, to a city of refuge. So what we're saying here is, and what David is telling Shaul here, is basically that bad people continue to do bad. If there is something that God wants to inflict upon you, some sort of punishment, it's not going to come from me, because I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong, so I'm not going to be the one to deliver that punishment to you. That punishment, if it's coming to you after God judges between us, you're going to get it from someone, but from someone evil. Just like the story of the two people who were end up getting each other, the proper punishment in another place, in another time, seemingly not connected as a coincidence, but there is no coincidence in the world. So this is what he's telling him. Now, so here we have, I have in the on the screen, and then you can go later on and see the actual words in the Gemara. I'm not going to read it again, but basically that's what he's saying. That the story that I mentioned to you. Okay, now I wanted to spend the next few minutes to talk further about the word Mashal HaKadmoni. Mashal HaKadmoni here in this section, in this verse, is referring to Torah. Now, he could have said Torah, he could have said the words of God. Why does he say Mashal HaKadmoni? So, Mashal HaKadmoni is a very famous couple of words in Chassidut. And starting from the Zohar, from Kabbalah. And there are a lot of discussion about it. Why are we calling Torah? Why is David calling Torah an ancient proverb or an ancient analogy? So, there is a famous question that we saying, that God is giving us, right, when we go to the Torah, hopefully soon, we'll be able to have a minyan and go up to the Torah again and bench that God gave us His Torah. That is the Torah of God, right? It's God's Torah. It's God's words. It's God's blueprint. And we're asking ourselves, is this what God dealing with? We have in the Torah all kinds of, very earthly events, business transactions, family law, criminal law. People are stealing and killing and dealing with the skin inflictions. Is that what God busy with? I mean, He doesn't have a skin. He doesn't have a business. He doesn't have, what are we talking about? How can that be God's Torah? And that is really a very essential question that touches on the essence of Torah. How can we define what is we're saying God's Torah? What does it mean? So in Chassidut and in Kabbalah, they mention that we have to learn what Torah is. The answer to that, the meaning of Torah is Mashal HaKadmoni. It's an ancient analogy. What does it mean, an ancient analogy? When we try to explain some sort of an idea, in a way that, not esoteric, something that people can understand, we're using an analogy. Something that's closer to us, that we can understand, that it's the same idea, but at the lower level, Let me explain to you in your own words, I'm not going to go into deep discussions. Let me explain it to you in simple words, simple terms. And that's how we understand it, and we can apply it and understand the more complicated concept. For example, a very famous one is day and night, choshech and or, right? So we have the darkness and light can be physical darkness and light, which we all see and experience. but it can also be darkness in the mind. So when someone I'm in the dark, I don't understand something, I'm in the dark, and then suddenly I saw the light, a light bulb went off in my brain and I saw it. So we're using an analogy to express something deeper, some understanding or not understanding something as day and light. So that is an analogy. Now, in a regular analogy, the mashal and the nimshal, how do you say in English mashal and nimshal? The analogy and the whatever, the idea that you're trying to explain with the analogy, are similar. They have the same characteristics. But when we're talking about Torah, it's not just similar. It's the same exact thing. An analogy in Torah is basically looking at the same deep idea from a different point of view. It's the same thing. You're just looking at it from a different point of view, from a different direction. So light, as it's expressed in physicality, in a physical light, is the same exact thing as light of the mind, in the words of Torah, because the analogy is exactly the same. What do we gain from it? We gain from it that if we want to learn a topic, we don't need to learn it somewhere where it's complicated, where it's spiritual, heavenly type of information or topic. We can learn it here on earth. So here on earth, we're learning about business law, we're learning about family law, we're learning about criminal law, right? We're learning all kinds of laws that do not apply up there, but they are an analogy to what's up there, meaning it's basically the same topic, just a different point of view. We're looking at it from our point of view, but we're looking at the same thing. Therefore, when we say that God gave us His Torah, and we are going to the Torah and talking about, skin afflictions, skin afflictions, we're basically talking about some sort of a topic that is understood by God one way, but we see it in a whole different light, but it's the same thing. It's not a different topic, it's not a different subject. It's not that we are talking about skin rashes and God is talking about angels. It's the same topic. It's just that we see it in one way, and he's seeing. So by David calling the Torah Mashal HaKadmoni, he is basically giving us the ability to understand what is the essence of Torah, and this is a very popular and famous topic in Jewish in Chassidut, and it's coming from here that. You can understand that the whole idea of justice is not something that's being made here on earth. It's something that's made with the with God's godly standards. Anyway, let me just see if the rabbi is here, because he's supposed to take over. Let's just continue. Maybe one more verse. So David is basically telling Saul, listen, God is going to judge between you and I. I'm not going to be the one to retaliate or to kill you. And he really expresses how he feels about himself. Who is the king? The king of the Jews. Who is he chasing? He's chasing a dog. And you're chasing a dead dog. What do you mean a dead dog? What is one of the most important characteristics of a dog? Is that they are loyal, right? Now, I was loyal to you. You gave me your daughter. But you're chasing a dead dog. I'm not loyal anymore, because all of the harm that you inflicted upon me. But I'm still a dog compared to you. So who are you chasing? After a flea, I'm not there is no comparison between you and I. You're the king of the Jews, and I'm just a flea, a dead dog. והיה השם לדיין ושפט ביני ובניך וירא את ריבי וישפטני מידיך. And he concludes by repeating his plea to God, please be the judge between us. And he's telling Saul, listen, this is God is going to fight my fight. Let's see. Is the rabbi here? Hey, how are you? All right.
Remember Olga?
So I just wanted to let you all know that on Thursday, 8 o'clock, I unmuted everybody so we can hear. Let me just mute everybody. Just 1 second. So Thursday at 8 o'clock, we're going to have a session, a Hasidus and coffee, but in the summer we're going to go through Pirkei Avot. This is what is traditionally being taught in the summer. And hopefully you're all going to enjoy it. You can join me at 8 o'clock on Thursday.
Places for Olga and for Herman.
So yours, right?
Father of Paul, Jürgen.
All right, thank you, Dror.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. Let's see if this is.